The Last Hope, A Race Against Time. Chapter 1. The Discovery. The year was 2150. Society had progressed by leaps and bounds as civilization sprawled across the stars. The human race had been exploring the universe for 150 years when the unthinkable happened. A small team of research scientists had discovered an anomaly in a distant galaxy that threatened to change everything we knew about the universe. The discovery wasn't just a breakthrough or something that could be conveniently filed away in a lab. Instead, it was a seismic shift in the way we view ourselves and our place in the universe. The discovery was brought to the attention of the Council of the United Federation of Planets, who deemed it a security breach and classified top secret. However, rumors quickly began to spread, and the world was soon buzzing with speculation as to what exactly had been found. Some believed it was evidence of intelligent life, while others speculated it could be an extraterrestrial virus, an explosive new energy source, or even a weapon of mass destruction. Dr. Emily Wilson, a member of the team that had made the discovery, was scheduled to present her findings to the council in just 3 days. Emily had always been one of the most brilliant researchers in her field. She had spent years in the lab, along with her team, working tirelessly, trying to unravel the secrets of the universe. But this discovery was like nothing they had ever encountered before. It was a black hole that emitted some sort of energy pulse that no one could understand. And yet, despite the gravity of her discovery, there was an unexplainable unease that had gripped her since the moment they made it. That morning, while preparing for the presentation, Emily received an unexpected visitor. Her old mentor, Dr. Daniel Serrano, had come to see her. Daniel had been the one who had inspired her to join the Federation Council in the first place, and he had instilled in her a sense of purpose and direction when she had felt lost. "Emily, I need to talk to you," he said, his voice low and husky. "What is it, Daniel? Is something wrong?" Emily asked. Daniel took a deep breath and looked at her intensely. "Emily, you need to understand the gravity of what you've discovered. No one knows what facing the unknown may bring." Emily was confused. "What are you talking about, Daniel?" Daniel shook his head as if trying to find the words. "I mean that we need to be careful, Emily. We don't know what could happen." Emily felt a chill run through her body, and suddenly felt like she was in the eye of the storm. "What are you trying to tell me, Daniel?" Daniel hesitated for a few seconds. "I don't know, Emily. I just have this feeling that this black hole is not just a fluke of nature. We need to explore all the possibilities before we take any action. We need to be prepared for what comes next." Emily looked at Daniel for a moment, trying to make sense of his warning. She had always admired him, but now, for the first time in her life, she could sense his fear. What did Daniel know? Would her discovery change the course of human history? Emily didn't know, but she was about to find out. Chapter 2. A changed past. Emily made her way to the council chambers. She could feel the weight of her discovery on her shoulders. Her mind was racing, and her heart was racing even faster. She was anxious to know what the council thought of her findings. As she walked into the room, the council members were all present, all watching her as she took her seat. She cleared her throat and began to speak. "Good morning, esteemed members of the council. It is an honor to be here, and I would like to thank you for the opportunity to share with you the results of our research. My team and I have made a discovery unlike any other in the history of humanity." The council members leaned forward in their seats, their eyes focused intently on her. Emily could feel their anticipation as she continued. "We have discovered a black hole in a distant galaxy that is emitting some sort of energy pulse. We believe that this pulse is the key to understanding the universe itself. This discovery has the potential to change the very fabric of space-time itself." The council members murmured to each other, deep in thought as they considered the implications of Emily's discovery. Suddenly, one of the members, Dr. Luisa Rodriguez, spoke up. "Dr. Wilson, your discovery is certainly fascinating, but have you considered the potential dangers? What if this energy pulse is a signal to a hostile alien race? What if we end up causing the destruction of our entire civilization by opening up this Pandora's box? Emily had anticipated this question, and she was ready with her answer. Dr. Rodriguez, while it is true that we do not fully understand the nature of this energy pulse, we have taken the necessary precautions to prevent any unwanted consequences. We have set up a series of surveillance probes to monitor the energy pulse and to ensure that any potential threats can be detected and neutralized. The council members nodded, satisfied with her response. Emily could feel the tension in the room begin to dissipate. But then, something unexpected happened. Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered, and the air grew colder. Emily felt something change, something shift in the very air around her. And then, with a deafening roar, everything went black. When Emily regained her senses, she was no longer in the council chambers. She was standing in a field, surrounded by ancient trees and the ruins of some long-forgotten civilization. She could see cracks in the sky, and all around her was a strange and unsettling sense that she had been transported back in time. What had happened? What was this place? Emily looked around in confusion, trying to make sense of her surroundings when she heard a voice call out to her. "Emily, can you hear me?" It was Daniel Serrano's voice, but it was coming from a communicator device that had materialized in her hand. "Daniel, what is going on?" "Where?" Emily listened to me carefully. "This is not the world that you know. Something has happened, something beyond our understanding. The pulse has disrupted space-time, and you have been sent to an alternate reality, a world that never was." Emily was still trying to absorb this information when she saw something moving in the distance. She looked closer and realized that it was a group of people, dressed in strange clothing and carrying weapons. "Daniel, who are these people?" Emily asked. "I don't know, Emily, but I suspect they are not friendly. You need to be careful, and you need to find a way back to your reality before it's too late. I am sending you a device that will help you navigate this new world. Use it wisely, Emily." With that, the communicator device vanished from her hand, and Emily was left alone in a strange new world. She had no idea how she was going to get back, but one thing was certain: she was in more danger than she had ever imagined. Chapter 3. The Butterfly Effect. Emily stood frozen in disbelief. She had been sent to an alternate reality, a world that never was. She looked around, scanning the land for any familiarity, but nothing looked familiar. There was nothing but silence and an uncertain future. Emily had no idea how much time had passed since she'd been transported to this strange new world. This reality was nothing like she had ever experienced before. She checked the communicator device Daniel had provided her with and studied it carefully. The device looked like a smartwatch, with a holographic display screen that Emily checked out for any leads on her location. The device displayed the coordinates of where she was and a map of the area around her. She was in an uncharted territory that seemed uninhabited, but it didn't reassure her. As she navigated the terrain, Emily started to realize the impact of her presence in this alternate reality. There was a growing sense that her very presence here might make things worse. Before she had been sent here, she had thought about the impact of her discovery but never about the butterfly effect. One tiny change could have catastrophic consequences, much like a butterfly flapping its wings in one part of the world could cause a hurricane on the other side of the planet. She had never been a believer in fate or destiny, but now, she could see that every action she took could have significant consequences. Emily continued her journey through this unknown world, trying to find her way back to her reality. Every step she took was calculated, and every choice she made was weighed with great importance. She avoided contact with everything she saw, fearing the repercussions of her actions might cause things to spiral out of control. Suddenly, Emily heard the sound of rustling leaves, and she hid behind a nearby tree. She peeked around the corner and saw a group of soldiers marching by. They were not just soldiers. They were soldiers with advanced technology and weapons, comparable to those in her reality. Emily realized that this alternate reality was not only different, but it was more advanced as well. It was as if the butterfly effect had caused technological advancements to occur much sooner or in a different path. She began to wonder what other changes might have occurred. Emily continued on with her journey, navigating through unfamiliar terrain and avoiding contact with anyone or anything that could have altered the course of the universe further. She had no idea how long she had been traveling, but eventually, she stumbled upon something that caught her attention. It was an ancient temple, long forgotten and overgrown with vines and moss. Emily's heart raced with excitement as she approached the temple. She sensed that the answers she had been seeking might lie within its walls. She walked slowly, cautiously, and stepped inside the temple. As Emily walked through, the walls began to shift and change, and she realized that the temple was some kind of holographic data center. She saw her past, present, and possible futures playing out in front of her, and the weight of the realization hit her hard. Her discovery must have caused a ripple effect in the universe, altering time and space in a way she never could have imagined. This was no longer a matter of just getting back to her reality. This was a matter of fixing something that she had broken, even if it meant sacrificing herself in the process. Emily knew she had to do everything in her power to fix what she had set in motion, even if it meant staying in this alternate reality forever. Chapter 4. A Race Against Time. Emily stood in the holographic data center, staring at the images of her past, present, and possible futures as they played out in front of her. The weight of the realization hit her hard. Her discovery had caused a ripple effect in the universe, altering time and space in a way she never could have imagined. Sweat started to bead on her forehead as she contemplated her next move. She knew she needed to do everything in her power to fix what she had set in motion. She had to find a way to travel back in time and undo the damage that her discovery had caused. But how? How does one time travel? The answers started to come to her quickly. The pulses emitted by the black hole had created a wormhole, a shortcut through space-time that allowed for time travel. Emily knew that this was the only way. She quickly located the spot where the wormhole had opened up, and after studying the data closely, found the exact moment when it had been created. But there was a problem. The wormhole existed for only a few seconds before it collapsed. She had to be precise. She had one chance, and one chance only, to travel through time and prevent the catastrophe from occurring. Emily knew she had to get back to the exact moment when the black hole pulse had been detected, before the discovery had been made, before the butterfly effect had kicked in. With her heart racing, Emily made her way through the holographic data center and back out into the world of the unknown. She soon found a group of rebels who had managed to survive against the advanced soldiers in this alternate reality. The rebels had experience with time travel, and through a series of quick thinking and intense negotiations, Emily found herself in possession of a time travel device. The rebels warned her that the device was experimental and could cause severe trauma, but Emily didn't care. She had one goal in mind: to use the device to travel back in time and stop herself from ever making the discovery in the first place. With the time travel device strapped to her wrist, Emily took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and activated it. Instantly, Emily felt like she was being pulled through an invisible tunnel, with time and space warping and twisting around her. When she opened her eyes, she was standing in the same lab where she had made the discovery. But everything was different. The lab was empty, and there was no sign of her team. The equipment was primitive, and the computers comprised just basic operating systems. Emily realized she had arrived at the right moment. She had traveled back in time and was just about to prevent the discovery from ever happening. But as she approached the computer, she felt a jolt of electricity run through her body. She quickly went back to the device strapped to her wrist and saw that it was overloading. The time travel device was not meant for this level of time travel, and it would soon explode, taking her with it. She had seconds to act. Emily frantically typed in a line of code on the computer, a deleted file that erased all record of the experiment, the team, and the black hole itself. Without a second thought, she hit enter, and the time travel device on her wrist exploded, sending her flying across the lab. When she regained her senses, Emily was back in her own reality. The world around her was the same, but she felt a sense of relief that she had averted the potential destruction of the universe. Emily's discovery may have changed the course of human history, but now she knew that the universe was safer because of it. The thought crossed her mind as she breathed in the relief. Would her past self remember her future self visiting her past self after the past had been changed? Emily shook her head, choosing to leave that question for another day. For now, she would simply relish in the fact that she had saved the universe from possible destruction. Chapter 5. Escalating consequences after traveling through time to prevent the discovery of the black hole in the alternate reality, Emily returned to the present. She was relieved that the universe was safe from the potential destruction caused by her discovery, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As days turned into weeks, Emily started to notice small changes happening around her. At first, it was just minor discrepancies in her work, but soon, she started to see bigger changes, and she realized that the butterfly effect had come into play yet again. The implications of her decision to erase her discovery had caused a chain reaction that was gradually affecting everything around her. Emily's team had never been formed, and her work had been erased from the archives of history. But it wasn't just her work that was affected. Emily started to notice more significant changes in the world around her. The technology that had been created based on her discovery was never developed, causing significant setbacks and affecting the future of human progress. Everything from transportation to healthcare had been impacted. Emily couldn't stop thinking about the unintended consequences of her actions. She tried to undo her choice, but it was too late. The damage had been done, and the reverberations were felt through time and space. As the weeks turned into months, the changes continued to escalate, and Emily was helpless to stop it. Soon, she found herself standing in the midst of a full-blown war. The war had started because of the butterfly effect, and it was escalating with every passing moment. Emily knew that she couldn't just stand by and watch as the war ravaged the world around her. She knew that she needed to take action. She started researching ways to repair the damage that had been done, looking for a way to reverse the unintended consequences of her actions. But nothing seemed to work. As she walked through the devastation of the war-torn streets, she realized that the only way to fix what had been broken was to go back in time yet again and correct the mistake she had made. It was a risky move, but it was the only one she had. Emily knew that it would take precision and accuracy to get it right this time. She spent every waking moment calculating, analyzing, and simulating the potential outcomes of every choice she could make. She couldn't afford any mistakes this time. The fate of the future was at stake. Finally, she found a way to travel back in time to the moment that she had erased her discovery. She took the time travel device, strapped it to her wrist, and activated it. The time travel device worked. This time, she appeared in an alternate universe where the discovery had never been erased, and she was standing in the same lab where she had previously rewritten history. She saw herself in the past and knew what had to be done. Emily took a deep breath and walked up to her past self, telling her every detail of what had transpired in the alternate reality. She told her past self that she was going to erase the discovery and begged her not to make the same mistake. Her past self listened intently, and with a nod, she agreed to abandon the discovery. Emily watched as she deleted every file and destroyed all the research data. When Emily returned to the present, everything was as it should be, and the alternate reality had been saved. Essentially, she had switched two different realities, saving one from the destruction caused by her discovery while letting the other continue on its path. It was risky and dangerous, but she had succeeded in bringing balance back to both universes. Emily breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that she had finally fixed the mistakes of the past. She had learned the hard way that even the smallest actions could have significant consequences, and that traveling through time was a dangerous game that could never be taken lightly. Chapter 6. The final countdown. After successfully fixing the mistakes of the past, Emily felt as though a heavy weight had been lifted off her shoulders. She had learned the hard way that even the smallest actions could have significant consequences, and that traveling through time was a dangerous game that could never be taken lightly. But even with the realization that her work was done, Emily knew that she had one final task to complete. She had to ensure that the time travel technology and the knowledge about the black hole discovery never fell into the wrong hands. Emily had a plan. A risky one, but it was the only one she had. She traveled to the highest echelons of power, spending weeks working her way up the ranks until she was in front of the world's most influential leaders. She presented her case, explaining what she had discovered and what the potential consequences of the discovery would be if it fell into the wrong hands. She argued that the knowledge of time travel should only be used for the betterment of humanity and that its misuse could lead to catastrophic events. At first, the leaders were skeptical of what she was saying. But as she presented more and more evidence and explained the potential ramifications of the discovery, they slowly started to come around. They agreed that the technology and knowledge of the discovery should be kept within the hands of trusted individuals, and only used in the most dire of circumstances. A council was formed, with representatives from all corners of the globe, to oversee the use of time travel technology and ensure that it was only used for the betterment of humanity. Emily breathed a sigh of relief. She had succeeded in her mission. The time travel technology was secured, and there was a system in place to ensure that it would never fall into the wrong hands. But Emily knew that even with the council in place, there were still people who would seek to misuse the technology for their gain. It was only a matter of time before someone attempted to breach the council's effective barrier, causing an even bigger problem. With this in mind, Emily made the decision to step away from the council and the time travel technology entirely. She knew that she had done all she could, and it was time for her to move on. As Emily walked away from the world of time travel, she realized that the journey had changed her in ways she never thought possible. She had learned that the smallest actions could have significant consequences and that traveling through time was a dangerous game that could never be taken lightly. But she had also learned that, in the end, it was always up to the individual to make a difference. The world would continue to evolve, and time would march on, but Emily knew that she had done her part to ensure that the future was brighter than the past. As she walked away, she knew that the world would never be the same again, but that was a good thing. It was the promise of change, the promise of progress, and the promise of a better tomorrow. Chapter 7. The last hope years had passed since Emily had walked away from the world of time travel, and she had built a life for herself that was completely separate from the world of science and innovation. She was content living a simple life, helping others and living each day with purpose and meaning. But Emily's peaceful existence was suddenly interrupted when she received a message from an old colleague. The message was a distress call, and it was clear that something terrible had happened. Emily quickly packed her bags and traveled back to the world that she had left behind. When she arrived, she soon discovered that the Time Travel Council had been infiltrated by a group of rogue agents who were using time travel for their gain. The council had been overthrown, and most of its members had either been killed or captured. The rogue agents had taken control of the time travel technology, and they were using it to alter history and bring about their vision of the future, which was bleak and dark. Emily knew that there was only one person who could stop the rogue agents, herself. She had the knowledge and the experience to navigate the world of time travel, and she was the only one who understood the gravity of the situation. But as she made her way through the council's destroyed headquarters, she realized that she couldn't do it alone. She needed help, someone who could assist her and have access to knowledge that could assist against rogue agents. Emily started to make contacts, people she had worked with in the past, people who had knowledge of the Time Travel Council, and people who she trusted. Together they formed a team, using their combined knowledge and expertise to put together a plan to take back the time travel technology. Their plan was risky, and it needed to be executed with precision. They knew that the rogue agents had to be eliminated before they had a chance to alter history beyond repair. As Emily and her team made their way through the rogue agents' hideout, they encountered heavy resistance. It was the final battle, and the stakes had never been higher. Emily fought with all her might, using every ounce of knowledge and experience she had gained over the years. The battle was brutal and intense, with both sides suffering massive losses. But in the end, Emily's team emerged victorious. They had regained control of the time travel technology and eliminated the rogue agents, ensuring that the world was safe from the misuse of time travel. Emily breathed a sigh of relief. The world was safe once again, and she knew that the future was brighter because of her efforts. But as she looked around at the destruction left behind by the battle, she knew that more work still had to be done. The world was evolving, and time would continue to march on, but Emily stood as its last hope. She knew that she had to continue fighting for what was right and that the world needed her now more than ever. Emily knew that the journey would not be easy, but nothing worth fighting for ever is. As she looked into the future, she saw a world full of possibility and hope, a future that was bright and full of promise. And she knew that, no matter what, she would always stand as the last hope for the world.